Hello and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel. Well, this is one of those stories that you really don't want to cover because it just breaks your heart from top to bottom. In U.S., the Kabul drone strike appears to have killed an Afghan who worked for the U.S. aid group and a bunch of little kids. This is not something you want on your record if you're the good guy, especially when it's done for reasons of distraction or revenge or both. You don't want to be killing innocent people in your revenge thing, because, again, it's hard to still be called the good guy when you do such things. Now, this story is a couple of days old. It actually, it goes back to 3 weeks ago, and the report's been out for a while. New York Times just picked it up a couple of days ago, and the reason I didn't cover it earlier is because yesterday was 9/11, and I didn't want to cover a story that is so brutal against America's actions, if it turns out to be true, on a day where we remember the attacks on our homeland that were done by Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, their host from Afghanistan, to which 20 years later, after we won the war, our leader decided 3 weeks ago to surrender the country to them, the enemy. And after he surrendered the country to the enemy, he had no problem leaving Americans and American aides behind. That's an odd choice for a leader of a people to do, and it's an odd choice for people to keep him as a leader when he does such things. But here we are, and here we go. So that is why I didn't cover the story earlier. Let's take a look at this, and if you're familiar with the Vietnam era and some of the shenanigans that went on during that era, it's awfully reminiscent of it. The U.S. government account of the drone strike launched against a suspected terrorist in Afghanistan toward the end of the military withdrawal in Kabul has been challenged by reports suggesting that the victim was not a threat to the U.S., but was a helper bee. According to the New York Times, which is a curious mess on its own, the New York Times was absolute garbage for credibility from Trump, so are they still garbage for credibility? We don't know. But let's assume for the second that they're not. Why are they going after Biden and exposing this? And even if they are still garbage credibility, why are they going after Biden for this? Because they were instrumental in helping him get in. According to the New York Times report, the drone attack that the American officials said killed an ISIS terrorist carrying a bomb in a car toward the U.S. troops may have killed a man with no ISIS connection whatsoever, and in fact was carrying water to his family. Wow, way to go, America, if that's true. American military officials announced late last month that the drone strike was in response to an imminent threat by a suspected suicide bomber. Now, who are we to put it past the CIA and all those other folks that think like that to create the story that there's an imminent attack and then do your little distraction, because after all, 13 people had just been blown up on our side and hundreds on their side, and by their side I mean only the people that live there, not the enemy. So yeah, over 100 people, and I've heard as many as 200 people were blown to smithereens by one, so why not just make up the story again so we can distract them, like Bill Clinton did with blowing up the aspirin factory during the Monica Lewinsky trial. Yes, so let's do that. And so that's a real possibility, and it gets worse as it goes. Times reporting has identified the driver as Zamari Ahmadi, a longtime worker for the U.S. aid group. Wow, way to go. Let's just blow up our friends. That's going to build a huge rapport with the other nations, as if we needed any help after pulling out, not contacting NATO, and bailing out on the Air Force at Barghati, however you say that, and in the middle of the night without telling anybody, including NATO. Yeah, because way to build friends there, Joe Biden. So the Times is reporting that he was a worker for the aid group. The evidence suggests that his travels that day actually involved transporting colleagues to and from work. And so he was like an Uber driver. And an analysis of the video feeds showed that what military may have seen as Mr. Ahmadi and a colleague loading canisters of water into his truck to bring home to his family. Oh, but don't worry, we killed the family too. So they don't need the water anymore. Yeah, you see, there's a happy ending, right? Okay. The U.S. previously admitted that there were 3 civilian casualties in the strike. No. The Times report says the actual number is 10, 7 of which were children. Whoa, remember the term that they called the Vietnam soldiers when they came home? They called them baby killers. Well, Thanks, Biden, for bringing back that moniker. 7 of those individuals were children, including young family members of Ahmadi, who relatives say had run to the car to greet him when he got home moments before the strike. 2 well-placed U.S. military sources tell Fox News that the U.S. Central Command remains confident that the strike was based on accurate intelligence. Yeah, accurate intelligence. And how accurate has intelligence been? And how accurate has the experts been in the last 20 years? And it probably goes back further than that. So, sure, that's what they said. And was this the same accurate intelligence that said that it would be 3 months to 9 months before the Taliban would take over? Probably was. Probably the exact same people. So, yeah, they're coming to us with a lot of credibility there. Including young family members of Ahmadi who relatives say, yeah, we did that. Remain confident that the strike was based on accurate intelligence showed that the person in the car had bad intent. Yes, we worked for us all these 20 years, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm going to become cranky. And that an investigation is underway into how many civilians were killed. How? I'm surprised that the New York Times still has people on the ground there. So, what does General Miley say? The guy with white rage here. General Mark Miley, the White Rage Master, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said a secondary explosion confirms that Ahmad's car was filled with explosives. Yeah, water's got hydrogen in it. The Times also disputes that claim. But an examination of the scene of the strike, in quotes, conducted by the Times visual investigation team, and in other words, not satellites, and a Times reporter the morning afterward, and followed up with a second visit 4 days later, found no evidence of a second, more powerful explosion, the report states. So here we are again, right back to the Vietnam era of baby killers and blowing up families, and the Clinton era of distraction and changing the headlines. I want to be proud of my country. I want to be proud of our leaders. I cannot be proud of revenge strikes that are done on innocent civilians and little children who will never grow up because we blew them up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the future.